Hey Kirsty Clark, hey Jake Dannett. How is everyone? Hello, hello. I think Nadia's just been doing a live on her Instagram. I need your hat, says Sarah Davies, feeling much colder tonight. I'm wearing my hat. Yeah, I felt a bit cold tonight. I also felt a bit insecure today. That's why I'm wearing my hat, because I find clothes and hats can sometimes make you feel a little bit more secure. Hello, Hannah Crompton, Jessica Woodstock. How are you feeling, Jessica Woodstock? Sarah Tace, Pat Sykes, George Russell. Hello, Rosemary Ash, Jessie Wayne, Emily G, Holly. Hey, Holly, how you doing? Kate Kirkham, Adele Ward, Beth Elliott, Mandy Nanny. Let me just pull up the bit of the channel where I can see what you're saying. Mandy Falloon. Hi, feeling so sad today with all that's going on. Becky Osai. Is it Becky Osai? I hope I've pronounced that correctly. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Quite a compelling line that I keep hearing going around at the moment is, you know, we keep going on about the pandemic of coronavirus, but there's the pandemic of racism. It does feel like, I said to Nadia earlier today, it does feel like the world is in a very fragile place. And the weird thing about saying that is, who have you come as? I know, I've just come as a Russian Cossack. Xander, lots of people, Xander, are having issues with their comments vaporizing and evaporating when they write them live, but they're appearing, so no one's blocking anything or stopping anything. I think YouTube has got a glitch with, I think, again, it's wiping the, taking the app off and reloading it. So, tell Nadia she's not ended her stream. Has she not ended her stream? Shall I go and tell her? How do I do that? How do I do that without leaving you? I don't want to leave you. Hold on one sec. Let me just use this other one and then we can get going. Well, get going. I'm gonna. Let me just finding Nads on Instagram.
Don't know whether I'm on or off. Is anybody there?
You're still on. You're now off. Is she off? Gonna have to give her a shout. 1 second. Nads, your live is still going. You need to turn your phone off. She has so many issues with her phone. Nikki Thompson, you felt hellish today, have you, darling? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm pulling this up so I can be with you. I'm not feeling great, and I normally really like rainy weather. I think I was hit by one of those moments today where I thought, what's the fucking point of any of it? Do you get those? Has anyone else got that? Who's that?
Come say hello to everybody.
No, just people were just telling me that you were live and they were worried you were trapped, and then I thought you might take your top off and all sorts of terrible things might happen. You're right,
See you
sweetie.
later. See you later. See you at 10:30, guys.
So yeah, it's one of those days where you just feel the world's fragile. It's cold, which makes it even more fragile. And you look like Joan Collins in Dynasty, do I? God, that's quite an achievement, isn't it? Nanny Di did come and visit. She did, Xander. I held back your present until next time, mainly because there was so many other things going on, we forgot. But I'm going to give her it back, give her it next time. Yeah, so sorry I forgot. Yeah, so anyway, so it's one of those days. It's one of those days where I'll set my stall and then we'll have a chin mic properly. It was one of those days where I thought, yeah, what's the fucking point of it all? you know, getting out of it, coming out the other end of this. I think this is a situation for most people who suffer from any kind of mental health issues or depression or bipolar, but I think most people probably feel, I don't know if most people feel this. I struggle with seeing what the point is of most things all the time. Does anyone else? Does anyone else struggle with seeing the point of things sometimes? And I don't mean to the point of self-harm or suicide or anything like that. I mean, where you just genuinely, you're filled with an emptiness. And you don't feel it all the time, and it's not about sort of wallowing. Yes, most of the time, Cheryl Louis. Yeah. And in a weird way, there's been a sort of purpose of sorts to us all surviving this thing, don't you? Do you know what I mean? There's been a sort of energy drive. I mean, you guys being good, you know, I can't even begin to imagine what this would have been like if we didn't have you guys to have gone through it with. There's Chi-Chi. She's come to join me. She always comes in. Come here, Chi-Chi. Come here, baby. You're my little reliable, aren't you? She always comes in here when I'm in here. She always knows when I'm feeling a bit down. Dog's sweet. And it's really hard when you feel like that. So yeah, so we've all been doubling down on sort of, I mean, I know it's been the oddest form of like surviving because we've had to sit on our sofas and not do anything. But there is something quite exhausting in what we've had to do because we've had to just stop living. And yeah, there's all those moments where you ask yourself questions and you wonder. Yeah, there's the obvious points where I think most of people will probably went into, I think the reason most people took up strange hobbies like basket weaving and darning socks in lockdown was so they didn't have to face the bigger questions in life. You're right, McDonald's farmer. I've just taken to darning cats and putting them on my head. The reason there is actually a psychological, I'm wearing this hat because my head feels, and by putting this on, it kind of does that. Definitely feels like a mental marquee sort of situation, that, doesn't it? And I think that we've all doubled down on trying to survive. We've all kind of, well, you know, obviously, sadly, some people are still going through the horror of this, and there will be people going through the horror of this. But as we come out, I think there's going to be a bit of what they call, not post-traumatic stress, because I think societally we're traumatized. But I think we've all been made to ask, what's the bloody point of everything? Things that were so important before are shown to be meaningless or shallow or soulless. Or, I mean, it's like, you know, when I think about, I posted something on my Instagram. If you haven't seen my Instagram, Mark_Adderley, I posted something about not wanting to go on holiday, but I'd eat my left testicle to go and sit by a pool. And I really felt that day. And then another part of me thinks, wanting to sit by a pool, how fucking shallow is that? So my self-critic is in there, denying anything I want to do for myself. And yeah, so there is an emptiness. What did someone just say there? There's an emptiness that's come straight after. Not that we're out of it, but it very much feels like we're getting out of it. So how do you feel? Let's have a read. What do you guys feel? That's an interesting point there. Atlanta Johnson. We have no current dynamic memories being made. We are just stuck in a dark cloud of the media and world full of destruction. That's a very interesting point, Atlanta. Most of our visual stimuli, it's why I've been going into the garden a lot, has been screen stuff, hasn't it? I mean, you know, I don't mean like watching films. The girls are watching a film at the moment, and I think that's quite a creative horizon extender. But yeah, we've just been watching reflections of the world. And even the coverage of the Black Lives Matter marches and everything, they're only showing the violent stuff or the angry stuff, whereas actually there's a lot of very moving, very positive stuff with the police as much as there is with other people. So yeah, it sounds ungrateful, but going to the supermarket does not give me any pleasure. Nicola Yakub, I get that, I understand that. So on a mental health side, I feel anxious. I knew this time was coming, and I knew that I was going to get to this point. Does anyone else who suffers from some sort of degree of anxiety or stress related sort of mental health issues, I sort of feel like only by dealing with stuff, by having the mania of sort of almost a bipolar up, do I feel like I can, with a battering ram, charge through the doors of the fortress that is life. try saying that when you've got this on your head. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like I've got a battering ram, and I feel like I'm repeatedly running up against my front door. Xander, I bet you're finding politics a strain at the moment. It is a strain. I mean, the world is straining. I mean, not on the toilet. They're straining like... Yeah, so I feel like I'm sort of having to use a battering ram to kind of almost blow the bloody doors off in order to get out, or a sense of getting out in the world. On the one hand, I'm extraordinarily excited about getting out. And here's the thing. If anyone's got social anxiety or struggles with going to social situations, me give you some advice that I'm using for myself. I'm hoping that because we're all going to be starting with a blank canvas and from the same starting point, that those of us who were perhaps a little, not shy, well, shy, what's wrong with shy? I think shy people don't get enough of a look in. I mean, that's a bit of an oxymoron, but I think if you're shy or quiet or retiring or introverted, I think this might be the time to be able to step out and change things. Julie Logan, what do you reckon? Raspberry Mojito Girl, you're shy. What do you think about this? That perhaps there's a possibility here to walk back into the world, and social situations that were once a little bit intimidating or fearful or frightening. Everyone's going to have an element of that. And it's not to say that someone with social anxiety can only crack through it because they know everyone else is in the same boat. But actually, it does kind of help, because one of the problems with social anxiety is feeling that you're so different and isolated. So I would say that as we step out, actually do step out into some of the for example, I mean, I'm guessing most people are going to start to be able to have sort of 2 or 3 people around in their garden, as a start. And so, there's a lot of kind of space there already built into the equation of kind of socially distanced meeting with people. So I think for shy people, we might have almost, hit the jackpot there. It might help us a bit. Get out. Here's the other thing. Not that the solution to feeling anxious about these things is actually always going out. I'm always fascinated. Is anyone else fascinated by the life of hermits? Because hermits, whenever I see interviews with hermits, because every now and then there's an interview with a hermit, and I'm always interested because I think, am I a bit of a hermit? And when a hermit's interviewed, they always say things like, I don't feel alone. I don't feel loneliness. And it's like, it's a choice. They're happy. It's all right to not want to be fucking doing everything all the time. You're a bloody hermit, are you? Even a bloody hermit, Angela Locke. And I think this is where social media gets a bad name, and I think where social media is very good. That it allows you to connect, but it allows for that distance. So the very thing that usually it's people who like going to lots of parties who've got 6,000 million friends that go, social media is nothing like the real thing, is it? It's nothing like face-to-face contact, it's nothing like being skin on skin and all that sort of stuff. And I feel like saying, yeah, but it allows us to talk. And I think it allows people to safely talk with a degree of distance, because I think that's what some people want. So I think that someone said to me the other day on one of my, I can't remember where, and if anyone's here who said it, I'd be interested to hear from you again. Someone said, I was looking at your mental health chats from 2 or 3 years ago, and I seem a lot happier now. And I think on many levels, that's because of this. I think social media has been, or this media has been a critical part in feeling connected. Chantel Houghton, what tips would you have for calming my constant anxiety at the moment? I have A-level work constantly and I haven't seen my boyfriend in 3 months. It's really taking a toll on me and I cry a lot. Right. I think, Chantel, what you need to do is another big component of anxiety. We have talked about this before, but I'll talk about it again because I think it can't be said too much, is the sense that really anxiety around deadlines and work and time are often self-created anxieties. Yes, you've probably got deadlines for your A-level work, but let's face it, the world's been thrown into total disarray, so I'm sure there's going to be leeway on how you deliver that and at what time. You don't need to do everything on the day. I mean, quite a good technique. We on our Sunday show, we read a book so me, Nanny Di and Nadia take turns to read a book. So every 3 weeks it comes around. And one of the strategies I've used to make it manageable so that we're not on top of it all on the day before, to be honest with you, I'm not always on top of this, is take the number of pages to read, divide it by the number of days, and that's it. But you can do that with so many other parts of your life, work related. You can even do that with how long you haven't seen your boyfriend or how long you're not going to see someone. Because, you know, Nadia was saying yesterday, they are talking about hugging. They are talking about being able to meet boyfriends. Admittedly, you're not going to be able to meet them for a bit of hanky-panky because that's been made illegal. I still find that hard to believe. But do you know what I mean? I think what it is with anxiety is breaking things down into manageable bites. Like, look, I'm saying this now, and I'm not in the best place with my anxiety. I feel like I've got a tsunami of demands and requests and requirements because all sorts of work things are kind of kicking off, and that's fine. And then I turn to my girls and I think, oh, I haven't paid enough attention to the girls, or I haven't been silly enough. You know, I don't know about anyone else, but has anyone else found that being in lockdown has not the edges of you being able to present a perfect you to whoever you're potentially in lockdown with? Obviously, less so for people who are living on their own. But do you know what I mean? I sort of feel like I can't be the perfect dad because we're in each other's faces all the time. And so there's that element of they're seeing the real bits of me, and then you get into that self-hatred of thinking, what's the real me? And I think the internal critic, I was going to say the internal critic, which I think a lot of us have, is destined to tell us we're shit and we're horrible and we're an imposter and we're not allowed to fit in and we're not allowed to be there and we shouldn't be there and we're a con and we're a fraud. Do you get that? Does anyone else feel that sort of thing? Who's Mans B? Is someone struggling? Where's Mans B? Samaritans. Help, please. Mans B, Samaritans. Let me get the Samaritans number for you, Mans B, darling. Help, please. That's all I'm seeing. So let me just do this. I'm just going off. I should know it off by heart by now. The Samaritans, I've said it before, is an incredibly useful form of, it's like a citizen's advice bureau for the head and the heart. I always use that analogy. You phone them up, you don't even need to give them the answers to what it is that's bothering you, you just have to give them an indication of what's upsetting you, Mans B, and they will be able to send you to whichever charitable organisation or organisation that can help you. So I'm just putting the Samaritans number there, right there. It's just beneath this. There should be a little sort of pointing up arrow and pointing down arrow. Click on that. There we go. There are adverts across our channel which YouTube control because we earn a living from YouTube. Whoever just asked that. We earn part of a living from YouTube, and that's all right. We don't all write to ITV because of their adverts, do we? No. So yeah. Where's Mans B? I'm just trying to find Mans B. Mans B, help please. She given. Yeah, I'm just seeing it again. It's just help please. So Mans B, if you just look beneath, this title, I would recommend that you call the Samaritans immediately. 116 123 116 123 116 123. Okay. Thank you, Richard Kavanagh. It's coming up everywhere. Best thing you can do. I mean, one thing we can do is we can chat, we can talk. I can offer my own experiences. Other people will offer their experiences. We'll bounce back and forth. But the last thing we can do is genuinely offer targeted advice because we're not specialists and we're not professionals. Okay. So please, I'm presuming and I'm hoping she's. You are the 5 gays burgers. What's that, Zenda? Give people yes, please. Hi, Mark. I'm just feeling so tired. Do you feel the same? I do feel tired. I feel tired. I think we all feel tired. I think the tiredness is coming from a shared exhaustion. I just think we feel physically, emotionally, spiritually exhausted. And I do think this, you know, well, I don't want to get into government bashing, but I do think that we've been slightly. We've not really been looked after. And you could argue how looked after should we be, or do we need to be? But I don't even mean looked after. I just don't think they've shown particularly good leadership. So it's all been very incoherent. It's all been very sort of like, you know, back to front thinking. Jessica Woodstock, my depression is going crazy. I'm in a bad place at the moment. Home life, yeah. Well, yeah. I think I can. Sorry, it's just flown up there. Where are you? Home life again just seems to get worse. I mean, the only thing I would say to people is that there is always an end. I think I've said this before. There can be, we get frustrated and upset about the end of a positive experience. But the upside of that, the positive of that, is that the end of you will also get the end of a bad feeling at the same time. How would you? Sorry, Mark. Please say how you keep constantly motivated to work. I suffer with extreme procrastination. I set lists of targets and elements of work that I need to get done in a day, and I just do it. It's like if you're writing, you've got to write a certain number of words. It's got to be good. I mean, you can't just write shit. Oh, I see, Xander, got you. But you can't. But be realistic with your list. Sort of set yourself 2, 3, 4 things targeted that day: phone calls, meetings, whatever it is that you've got to do, and tick them off. But if you don't finish them all, don't beat yourself up. Just nudge them over to the list tomorrow. I mean, it sounds simple, but that kind of itinerary building, setting a realistic list of things. So, for example, I would say the power of 3. I would say, in a day. I mean, I'm saying all this. I'm struggling at the moment, and I'm sitting here sort of trying to give advice. But when I'm having a good day, I give myself a realistic list. Like, I've got to write a chapter of that. I've got to develop a pitch, and I've got to edit part of this. And then, I will literally chop up the day into those 3 bits. It's hard. It can be hard. That's what you do, is it, Joanne Clements? First week back at nursery, Lucy Rose. Sorry, they're just coming up. Claire Rossreed, how would you suggest I cope with anxiety when wearing a mask? Yeah, I don't know about that. This is a kind of a new thing, isn't it? It's kind of, how do you manage? Because I know what you mean. I mean, if you're sat with something like that, it's quite a stressful thing, isn't it? Well, the last thing you want to, I think you need to absolutely make sure that you've got it on, so you don't need to fiddle with it lots when you go out. I mean, the couple of times I've worn masks, I've just found myself wanting to fiddle with it because it just gets in the way, or you get hot, or you get itchy. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, the answer to that is I don't know. So yeah, so I think there's an element of struggling with going back to this whole thing of, where we're at in lockdown and all that, and we're about to come out of lockdown. And I did say, I don't know if anyone remembers, if you followed us a lot, I used to say right at the beginning, I'm really worried about the kind of boomerang effect of a mental health crisis happening much further down the way. Because I think a lot of people, normal people, as we've got in the title here, thoughts on life and life goes back to normal. I mean, what is normal? There is not normal, but there are many people who would identify themselves as not having mental health issues. They're usually the people who very proudly say, oh, I don't have a drink problem, and no one has a drink problem. It's not a thing. You don't have drink problem. You know what I mean? Those sort of people. So let's say the majority of people feel to some degree that they don't have a problem. I would harbour a guess that a huge number of them will when we return back to normal life. Do you know what I mean? Because I think they're going to realise for themselves this sort of slow, dawning, aching kind of, a number of people are going to have the terrible factual reality of not having a job or their finances going. I mean, don't forget, don't beat around the bush. My biggest concern, what depresses me and gets me worried, isn't the immediacy of what we're going through now. It's the, as I call it, the slow motion car crash that's going to come in the future. It's the fact that businesses are going to really struggle to stay open, and that all has an impact on a population that's struggling with its purpose. Because if you think about it, so much of what we do to distract ourselves from parts of our lives that we maybe just tolerate, like most people are in jobs, or a lot of people are in jobs they don't necessarily like, and they get through it, and they believe that this job is a job to get to the next job. Do you know what I mean? We're all on a journey doing something to get to something else, and this is going to throw a huge spanner in the works for those mini narratives that everyone's got. If I think of my Fleur, who's just coming out of university, she's got all sorts of plans coming along. She had planned New York and did her and internships and all this kind of stuff. That's all on ice now. That's all on ice. And if that's on ice for one person, that's going to be on ice for thousands, millions of people. And the collective, the collective impact of that, for example, I think at the end of this month, it's going to be the end of things like mortgage holidays, the end of the illegality of causing evictions. So I've got a real concern for the fact that we all think we've been through the worst of it. We have in terms of the virus, but I think in a weird way, I think we've got. It's not we're going to go through the worst of it and it's going to be unmanageable, but we all need to have our wits about us for everyone else and ourselves to get through the coming months. Because in the coming months, it's going to be where the squeeze happens. Do you get that? Has anyone used it? It's funny, yeah. A lot of people talk about CBD for anxiety. You know why I veer away from it? I've just got to. I mean, when I was younger, I used to smoke spliff and stuff like that, but I just think too much. I think anything, I mean, I know CBD is the medical end of it, isn't it? So it's not the sort of hallucinogenic side of it or the kind of, the druggy side of it. But I don't know, because I'm an addict and an alcoholic, I sort of feel I have to step clear of that. Even these gummy bears that everyone chucks around, I just feel I have to be a bit careful. Jake Dannat, feel anxious about going back to socialising again. I feel like I'm expected to be a certain way as I'm normally sociable, but this has changed me. I've actually enjoyed lockdown. Yeah, yeah, that's a good point, Jake. I think a lot of people have enjoyed lockdown because, and I can't remember, was it you, Jake, who said it, or someone said right at the beginning, all the shoulds have gone. I should be this. I should have achieved this. I should be going here. I should, FOMO, fear of missing out. It's not to say it's not still there, but it's massively reduced, isn't it? When you remove all the choices for what we can do, FOMO goes down. It doesn't go away, but it goes down. And that, for me, I think is a good thing. I do genuinely think that in life, we are given so many choices. And it's like if you spoil a child too much, they then easily find no joy in anything. And if you find no joy in anything, you easily become depressed. And I think it's a simple arithmetic for society. I think that's what happens in the developed world. We have so many choices relative. I'm not saying we all, I'm not saying we all have the same choices. I have more choices than most, but we all have so many choices relative to the bare essence of just living and surviving, that I think that's what depresses us. And so I think in a weird way, for those of us, some of those of us who, some of us are going to feel a bit guilty going back into the world and say, you know what, I actually not enjoyed what we had to forego and not enjoyed not seeing my relatives, and lots of, sadly, people, will have lost partners and loved ones. But there's no shame in feeling that it's provided you with a pause and a stop and potentially a reset. Do you know what I mean? Does anyone else feel it's done that for them? Does anyone feel like, even if they haven't enjoyed all the finer details of it, not hugging, not seeing people, all that, how many people feel that on a level, things have got better? In terms of that whole, all the fears around what you're missing out on and what you're not doing and all that kind of stuff. Steph, Skulls, Tina Davis. Time for a revolution, Winnie Win. You know what, when you say that, I mean, I think a revolution doesn't have to be a street revolution. You can have a revolution of attitude. You know what, I mean, if we all didn't feel the need to spend so much money on so much pointless shit, one big argument that the government says, but then that part of the economy would go, but then maybe that part of the economy isn't needed. It's like I often ask the question, and believe me, no one's more invested in coffee than me. But what did we spend £3 billion a year on before we spent it on coffee? And okay, if we didn't spend it on anything else, where did we find £3 billion a year to spend on coffee? Do you know what I mean? And I think that's an interesting dynamic when you start to think about modern life and the way society is structured. How many things are we told to spend money on that we don't need to spend money on? I mean, the other day, Leslie, oh my God, I can't believe it. I can't even begin to tell you how smelly Chi-Chi's fart is. Oh my God. Chi-Chi. Oh, it's awful. It's awful. Sorry about that. Do you know what I mean? It's like the other day, we tried to get a coffee in the park. It's going to be in one of our vlogs. Or we did get a coffee in the park, and it cost, whatever it cost. 2 of those a day, that's a £5. That's a lot of money. I remember the days when I used to draw out a fiver at college, and that would sustain me for 2 days. Yeah. So why am I saying all of that? I'm saying all of that because I think we have been presented with both an opportunity and a challenge. We've got through most of the challenge, and we are now sitting on the edge of an opportunity. And I think the opportunity is to change individually in microscopic ways both our expectations and the level of our consumption of things. Absolutely. Five Guys, bloody outrageous. Won't be going back to Five Guys, not when we can make it here for a third of the price. Do you see what I mean? And I think because of that stepping point between the two, I think that's why a number of you I can see, and on many of our vlogs and lives, I hear you talking about, you, Jessica Woodstock, various people, about the struggles that you've had. And I think the reason we're feeling such things so intensely is because we're at that, do you know what I mean? And even if that junction has lasted 2 to 3 months, we're on a, this is a tipping point in all of our lives, really. And we're, you know, we'd have to be deaf, dumb and blind to not know that. Do you know what I mean? Emotionally. Monsura Begum. I can see that message. Let's have a look. What was that? Feel the whole... what was that? It's not been... God, they take... Feel the whole mental health issue has been overlooked during this lockdown with government. Mark, you talk so beautifully. It's lovely. Oh, bless you. Thank you, Megan O'Neill. I think the mental health issue has been ignored. I mean, to be fair, I do think Chris Whitty was flagging it up as a byproduct of lockdown for too long. But I think we are going to have an enormous mental health crisis coming out the other side. And one of the other sides, obviously, other details that I'm incredibly invested in, or I have skin in the game with, is alcoholism and addiction. And I think we're going to have an enormous uptick in people who were struggling with the drinking and their alcohol consumption, flipping over into, severe alcohol abuse. And I think I'm really worried because I think, you know, for those of us who've been in 12-step recovery programs and sober, and we know all the kind of support networks and all the work that one has to do, there are going to be people very disorientatedly coming out of lockdown, not having gone into lockdown, not, you know, knowing they like a drink, and coming out of it not even aware yet that they've got a huge drink problem. I mean, the thing about having a drink problem is you don't know you've got it until you've lost everything or run the risk of losing a lot. That's why they call it, Rachel Lloyd, almost relapse. That's why they call it a rock bottom. You know, the talk is always about, unless you hit rock bottom, which was mine, was Nadia throwing me out, saying you fucked your family up unless you don't go away and sort yourself out. It's usually when, you know, the cost of a drink has proved to be so much more expensive than the cost of a drink. And at the moment, I think we're going to have a lot of people just coming to terms with, and their families and their friends, thinking, Jesus Christ, he went into lockdown quite a big drinker, but he's coming out of it an absolute mess. Leslie Sargent, you wish your husband would reach rock bottom. Well, you know what? One of the strongest things a partner can do with a partner who won't change their behavior is say, there's the door, and go. And of course, in lockdown, that's an impossible thing to do. Of course, when I say that, you've got to make sure no violence, no endangerment's going to happen to you or the children. But, you know, the ability to say to someone, look, mate, go and sleep when your friend, you know, go away and sort your shit out. We can't do that at the moment, can we? We just can't do that. I mean, Nadia said it today. She came to us and she said, oh my God, like almost clawing at the top. I want to go out. I want to go somewhere. And I feel that. And I think some of us who have social anxiety, going back to that, I think we have to almost capture that essence of wanting to go out, pop it in a bottle and wait and use it as kind of magic potion. So do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I do think, Jake Dannett, you suffer bad with FOMO, and it's been nice not missing out. Yeah, I think you're right. I do think that's the case. Kerry Bedford, you're frightened to go out again. I don't want to come out of lockdown. Again, pigeon steps, baby steps. Think of it like that, baby steps. Everyone's going to be feeling odd about stepping back out. There's going to be a few gung-hoers. I mean, a lot of younger people are very keen. Oh, my ears just flopped. A lot of younger people, because they're teenagers and all that, it's their journey, it's their rites of passage. They're all going to come out and want to go party mad, aren't they? Of course they are. That's understandable. I mean, if I think back to when I was 16, 17, I'd have wanted to go completely nuts. But I think for the rest of us, I think most adults, there's going to be very few who are just like, yeah, come on, let's go. But I think if you're feeling nervous, just gain some solidarity from the fact that most people are going to be feeling nervous. Jessica Woodstock, she has 100% got a drinking issue. It's just really sad. She gets so emotional. I as an 18-year-old, have watched her since I was about 8. It's been up and down. It's heartbreaking. Adult children of alcoholic parents. Are you talking about your parent there, your mum? Mandy Nanny, my daughter is a drug and alcohol counsellor. Her workload has increased already. That does not surprise me at all, Mandy Nanny. It does not surprise me at all. Yeah, I mean, I was reading a report recently about a couple of alcohol dependency charities that were saying their calls coming in have gone up by something like 50% or something. Rachel Edwards, with Fragile X syndrome, I'm a recluse with autism and anxiety going out. God, no working from home forever. Oh, sorry, I've just lost you. Yeah, that's anxiety going out. Well, this will make that anxiety. I think it's going to be about once again going back to a phrase that I like to use a lot, and I was using it in relationship to Nadia in a post she put with Madeline McCann. Better to be kind than right. And I think we all, as we step out metaphorically, need to be stepping out kind of, if not literally because of social distancing, but metaphorically reaching our hands out to those also stepping out. And we have to tolerate and accept that some people want to move at a slower pace. I think that's one of the important things. I think it's really easy to stand in judgment of the way people behave. I think we have to accept that certain age groups want to rush and are going to be overzealous, like great big puppies in a floppy with their floppy paws, whereas others of us really will want to step out very tentatively. I mean, I must admit, I haven't missed any of that socializing thing because I'm not a big fan of it all. I find it really exhausting. But I find it exhausting because I feel I have to entertain and I struggle with small talk and all that sort of stuff. And, I don't know. You could say that's really, but and then I worry that the low self-esteem kicks in, and people must have that. Your low self-esteem. You make up for feeling like you're a nothing by just being an idiot. That's what I do. I do it all the bloody time in the vlog, don't I? Judy Phillips. Hello, Judy. Hope you're well, darling. Employers are going to have to be really sensitive in allowing people to come back at their own pace. You're absolutely right. I mean, I think it was a right move in this country to say to parents, under your own steam, your kids can go back. In some cases, I can see how that would be difficult. Yeah, I mean, I do think they do. Ninja K. Oh, sorry, just lost you. I work in mental health, and it's our recovery as our primary focus, making sure lots of services are available, supporting those with health anxiety. Yeah, I know. It's. I mean, and this is the other worry: is where is the money going to be for all this stuff? So yeah, as soon as I start talking all about all this, I have all these great ideas and all these great suggestions, and then I worry, how the bloody hell is all this going to be implemented? You don't socialise either, Stephanie. Debbie Getty, everyone where I live are going out socialising back to normal. I look like the weird one, but I just want to do what's right. Yeah, I think as long as everyone is accepting, I mean, that's the difficulty, isn't it? How can you make other people accept that you want to go slower? As long as they're not forcing you, I suppose. Small talk, hate it. I do. I hate it because actually small talk and awkward talk, as I call it, is why people drink. I don't think it's a much more sophisticated reason than that. I think a lot of people develop drink problems because they're fucking bored with who they're talking to and they don't want to have the conversation they're about to have. And they don't, because we can all think of those people in our lives that we say it to them often, don't we? I can think of Miranda and Lisa. I can say, oh God, it's so nice with you. I feel so myself. I don't feel like I have to be. Miss One Trisha, I am an introvert. I absolutely am. And yet at the same time, I'm an introverted extrovert, or I'm an extroverted introvert. I don't know which way around you go. I'm incredibly social, but not sociable. Incredibly sociable, but not, incredibly sociable, but not social. I say I don't socialize, but I like to be sociable with everyone, you know. But I genuinely think I'd like to write a book about how small talk is the reason we are as a nation and as a race addicted to alcohol. I'd love that it's as simple as that. I'd love that it's as simple as that. Do you know what I mean? Maybe I feel too much, Sander. I do remember someone once saying in one of our 12-step meetings that on the one hand, you could view an alcoholic as cursed, and on another, you could see them as blessed. Because in a weird way, it's because there's an intensity to being in the world that makes it quite painful to be in the world, which is also why you drink. So that's something else. Yeah, being in the world, having sobriety, being sober in this world is a very challenging thing to be. But in many ways, it's a very blessed way to be too. So for anyone struggling with drink, it is really worth trying to get to this island, because you might sit with a stupid mushroom-like hat on like me, and you might not feel great a lot of the time, but you're in control of it a bit. Do you know what I mean? Or you're aware of it, and you've got slightly more control over not hurting other people. I've been talking for 40 minutes, I'm sorry. We're going to go live later. Be me and Nad. I'll let her do most of the talking because my throat's sore. I hope there's something useful in there. Guys, I hope there's something useful in there. I think basically, you know, it's really all right, Chichi wants to go out, it's really all right to feel shit and feel down. If you feel ghastly and terribly down, obviously call the Samaritans, as I know Mandy B did, I think, earlier. But you know what? It's all right. Reach out. Check in with someone. Check in with each other. Check in with someone like me. You know what I mean? If I can see your comment go up, you know, as I always say, I'm not a professional, but hopefully I'm a father to 4 daughters, and I always try and use the same advice for myself that I'm always trotting out to the girls. Oh, Michelle Penny, you're such a sweetheart, Michelle. We can't wait to have you in the garden for a cup of tea or a coffee, or 18 coffees, Michelle. Michelle's a dear friend. We text about mental health issues. We sort of say to each other, how mental are you feeling? Say, I get really mental. I feel so mental. I hope it's been useful, and I hope there's stuff in there. And it really is, you know, better to talk, better to share. You know what? I mean, I think, what's his face? What's the bloody name of the mad, long-haired guy that is a bit of a hippie, lunatic? Used to go out with, not Miley Cyrus, but the other girl. Oh my God, Katy Perry. What's his name? I mean, he's nuts. He's mental. Russell Brand. Thank you, Emma Staple. Hi, Emma. I hope you are. But he talks a lot of sense. What I like about Russell Brand, which is like a lot of addicts, recovering addicts, is there's an intensity. I mean, we talk a lot of stupidity. And if we know that, so no one else needs to tell us that. We talk shit. We can talk shit, but we can also talk a hell of a lot of sense. And I love plugging into that sort of electric thinking, I call it. And so, you know, what I'm saying is there's lots of people, well, there's certainly people like him, and there's other groups that you can go to and talk to. Lee Peart is great. Go and check him out for some light relief. But anyway, guys, I'm going to have to go because I'm about to choke to death. That was really nice. I hope there's, as I say, I hope there's some stuff there. Lots of love. See you later, with or without my hat. Have I got anything I can show you that's really fun? Have I shown you that before? Yeah, got that from Comic Con. Severed leg. Oh, and look at this one. Oh, look at my thumb. It's a USB stick. It's cool, isn't it? All right, guys. Lots of love. See you later.